Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, apologies if there is a slight delay in any episodes arriving in your podcast feed this week. We're having our house decorated, which means I have had to disconnect copious amounts of tech and put it all back together again. And anyone that has dared to look behind their TV will know all about that. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I need to contact a company, if they make it difficult for me to communicate with them, like navigate through cumbersome phone menus, jumping through hoops, I need to be put on hold for 30 minutes, or hiding behind a do not reply email address or chatbot, I've removed them from my life. I mean, life's too short, isn't it? But it occurred to me that we are all, as consumers, demanding a seamless Netflix-style experience for just about everything. I want everyone to spare a thought for the businesses out there. How do they meet these demands? And as the rapidly growing role of digital channels for consumer interactions, increasing investments in digital channels, artificial intelligence, and contact center technology for seamless omnichannel experiences for customers, as all that becomes the norm, I wanted to invite Paul Jarman, CEO of inContact, onto the podcast to talk about all this and also learn more about the inContact 2021 Contact Experience Transformation Benchmark. We have a lot to talk about, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Salt Lake City in Utah so we can speak with Paul Jarman. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
You bet. So Paul Jarman, I'm the CEO of inContact, and I've been there for over 22 years. So it's been a long time. And, we began in telecommunications and then in the customer experience space and the cloud. And today we've got a great business. We're all over the world. We work with countries and companies everywhere in the world, and are a leader in what I would call kind of customer experience and all the tools that it takes for contact centers to be successful in creating that good and kind of next generation customer experience that they hope to have today.
And that's one of the reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today, because I suspect for many people listening, they will have negative experiences of poor contact centers. But one of the things that made you stand out and put you on my radar is inContact CX1 was actually designed to empower organizations to get rid of that side of things and replace with exceptional customer experiences. But can I ask that you set the scene and tell the listeners a little bit more about who your customers are, the problems you solve for them, and what makes you a little bit different from other solutions out there?
You bet. So the first thing I would say there is that the problem that we solve is at the end of the day, there is a new consumer out there, and that consumer has more voice, they have more choice than ever before. And so one of the key issues almost any company has today is, how do I differentiate and compete with others based on a better customer experience than those my competitors might have? And how do I do that with the right customer journey, the right interactions, and then also the right efficiencies, because I can't spend more than I should to achieve that. And so as you look at what's changing, all of a sudden customers want it to be personal. They want it to be digital. They want us to make it seamless. They want to move between digital channels or voice in a seamless way. And they want us to not ask them every 10 minutes what we just heard from them 5 minutes ago. And so they want a rep that's engaged and excited and knowledgeable. And they want that experience to also be efficient and quick, and they don't want to hold forever. And so when you look at all of that kind of challenge, what we've done is we've created a platform and a suite, which we call CX1, which incorporates a lot of different tools all brought together on a native cloud platform. And those tools are things such as all the digital channels that you need for a contact center, all the voice capabilities, both inbound or outbound, all the self-service capabilities that you might need, all of the agent tools. How do you schedule? How do you provide quality management? How do you make sure that you're compliant? And also all the insights, the right survey tools or analytic tools that tell you how you're doing and give you insight into what the customer experience really looks like from the inside out. And so we put all that together on this cloud platform that's, a very both wide and deep. And we've been lucky enough to have all of the major analysts put us as the leader across the world. And so our job at the end of the day is to help companies to efficiently create great customer experiences by really leveraging, modernizing, and improving their contact center's experience.
I'm not sure if it's the last 12 months of being in lockdown here in the UK or the fact that I work in technology, but I seem to be really impatient with poor contact centres now. And if any company, whether it be something as simple as banking or home insurance, for example, if I've got an issue and I'm made to jump through a series of hoops and long hold times and takes 40 minutes just to speak to someone, I've started just removing those companies from my life. So it's so true in what you're saying there. But I'm curious, how have you seen the pandemic affecting your customers and how are you helping them adapt with your technology?
So a couple of things. So first of all, a lot of companies needed to move their agents home.
Yeah.
And to get all of the customer service agents home, that was not an easy thing for them to do. But because we're a cloud-based set of tools, it was easy for us to create a work from home environment for contact center agents that's still effective and efficient. And because we have all of the workforce tools to monitor, schedule, engage agents from any location, we allowed companies to create a safe environment for their employees while still creating the necessary customer experience that they needed. So that's the first thing. The second thing that's happened is that so many companies realized with the pandemic that their systems were archaic and they were not integrated and they were legacy and they didn't have the agility they needed to respond to the pandemic. And so we've actually seen a lot of additional business that's come because of the pandemic, and companies realizing they're in a bad spot to respond to it. The other thing that has happened, which has been really kind of heartwarming for us and great for us, is that we had the opportunity and have the opportunity to work with a lot of governments all over the world. It started with helping people with contact tracing. It started with helping governments do better with their unemployment lines and their healthcare lines. It then has moved to things like vaccine processes. And so we've found that we've been able to use our tools to really affect and improve a lot of government response and state or providence response all over the world to the pandemic itself.
And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today was after reading about the nice inContact customer experience transformation benchmark report. So can I ask that you, for anyone listening that have not heard of this report, can you tell me a little bit more about it and the type of people that you surveyed in that report?
Yeah, so, in essence, what we do there is we look at what consumers expect and what they're thinking. We look at what companies think they're doing or not doing, and we match all of that together. And those insights that we get help us to drive our research and development. They help us inform our customers what's important, and they really just help create kind of thought leadership in the market. And so, what it keeps telling us, and you'd think these things are obvious, but they keep coming up, is that most consumers want a more personal and a more digital experience than most companies provide. And most consumers are disappointed with their experience with most companies. And then the report goes through a lot of the details of what that means exactly. But, if I was to net it down, most companies are not keeping up with the technologies necessary to create great customer experiences that we as consumers are learning how to have in our personal lives, in associations with some of the leading customer experience companies out there. We're being taught what to expect. And often that expectation, as you said before, about that 40-minute hold time or whatever it might have been, companies are not aligning or achieving that. And we as consumers, as I said to begin, have just so much more voice and choice than ever before. We make changes because we can.
And I think it was IBM said a few years ago that the last experience anybody has anywhere that was a superior experience, that immediately becomes the standard expectation for every future experience. So I completely get that. But what were there any other big takeaways from the survey from your point of view?
I think that we are seeing with COVID an acceleration of consumers wanting to use digital channels. They'd much prefer to chat or text or use WhatsApp or other tools than sometimes voice. We're actually learning that customers are okay with more self-service as long as it's easy and quick and simple. They want us to be smarter at our websites to help guide them more effectively and more intuitively. And they also want to make sure that if they give us data, that we use it to have a much more personal experience. And so I think they get frustrated when we get their data and we don't use it to make their experience more personal.
And I'm curious, was there anything in the report that surprised you? Because you are used to seeing a lot of this stuff because you work in the heart of the industry. But is there anything that did surprise you?
Not really. I mean, Neil, I should say yes. But, what we saw with COVID was, people just wanted a more personal-like experience as they work with companies. And I think we've seen that forever. So maybe, Neil, the only real surprise is the speed of which it's changing. Yeah. And certainly in some areas of our business, COVID moved it forward like 5 years in a year. Into, people want to use the cloud. People want to be more agile. People want to use more digital. People want a better connection to their website for connecting to a contact center. Those things, because all of a sudden there was no in-person activities or other things, just forced it to go so much faster. And so I think maybe having thought through that, it would be really the speed, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Microsoft that said that even them, I think they went through 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months, which highlights the scale of the speed and that it's moving there. But are there any other tech trends in the industry that have particularly caught your attention or anything that you're monitoring closely?
One of the trends that we see is a lot of people are starting to use more what I say voice assistant or voice bot or chat bot. Can this virtual voice and intelligence replace an agent or not? And how does that become more intertwined or effective with the agent once you get to an agent? So we are seeing a lot around self-service and both the promise and the realities of it, right? We can go to our phone and ask Siri what time it is, and it tells us perfectly. If we say to Siri, I need to fix my modem and it somehow isn't working every third day, Siri can't answer those questions, right? And so, the limitations that are still there versus the possibilities. And as we start to see Siri understand us better, we think it should answer us better. But still, most of the knowledge or technology to make that better is still coming. And so I would say self-service is one. I think secondly is the use of AI, and AI is a really big word, but the use of artificial intelligence and automating and enhancing the customer experience. We're starting to see some really great applications of that. And that's an interesting area that is permeating most technical areas across the world. It's also touching our world quite a bit as well.
And this year seems to be racing ahead at breakneck speed too. As we record this episode, we're already in Q2 of 2021. Yeah. So what is your primary focus for the immediate future? And is there anything that particularly excites you about the road ahead? Because we do hear a lot of doom and gloom on those rolling 24-hour news channels. But what is it that excites you about the road ahead?
Part of it, Neil, at the end of the day is, we do billions of interactions every year. And the question I often ask our team is, can we make billions of interactions a little better? Can we, help companies or people have a more positive experience? And so our thought is that one thing that we can help the world with a little bit is just having these billions of experiences be better. So that's exciting to us because we feel like that's more than just, can we make a profit? Can we do X, Y, and Z? But can we literally make life better? So we're excited about that idea. And we had a chance to help literally, millions of people during COVID with very mission critical or life critical situations. So we've been very excited about our help to governments and others. And then, as technologists, we're always really excited about what's next. What's going to happen in self-service, what's going to happen in AI, where are those trends going to go? And we're excited about kind of the daily improvement of those areas.
Love that. And for anyone listening that would like to take a deeper dive into anything that we've talked about today, whether they're an individual, an IT team, or an organization, what's the best way of finding you online and finding more information about the work that you do and the technology that you're using?
Well, first of all, you can find us at inContact.com or on Twitter or any other social media place. You'll find us under inContact. And if people have any questions, just reach out to us directly through one of those different outlets or directly to us, as you go and search through our websites. We have all the contact us across our different points of contact, and happy to help with what we've learned through the market experiences, what we've learned through our research that we've done, and what we've just learned working with thousands of different companies in customer experience.
Well, one of the things I always say at the end of every episode is technology works best when it brings people together. It's one of the reasons I record this podcast every day. And one of the reasons I invited you on here today, and you said it beautifully a few moments ago, is you're using technology to bring billions of interactions and improve customer experiences for everyone. It's incredible what you're doing there. I'd love to stay in touch with you, but more than anything, just a big thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Well, thank you. And thanks for your time, Neil. And good luck with your podcast and all you're doing, and happy to say hi to everybody.
Whether you are contacting a local government service, bank, or any business, what is the best and what is the worst experience that you've had? I invite you to name and shame or celebrate, whatever it might be. I invite you to share them all with me by messaging me at techblogwriter@outlook.com. Please also feel free to leave me an audio message on Twitter or LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes. And then we can use some of the best ones on a future podcast episode. So please, I implore you all, share your stories with me and your experiences. So a big thank you to Paul for starting today's conversation. So many great points there. And I'd love to hear more from everyone listening too. And I'm intrigued what you will all come back at me with. But I'm afraid it's time for me to go. But have no fear, I will be back, same time, same place tomorrow. I've got another guest lined up. But more than anything, a big thank you to Paul for joining me on the podcast. And an even bigger thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in every day. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.